Hey everyone, so today's video is a little different. I am going to be doing a tutorial, and I haven't talked too much about my sort of journey toward a more natural way of existing in the world, but it's very important to me to have as little impact on the earth as possible, and to have the earth have, or not the earth, but have the world have as little negative impact on my body as possible. So part of this journey involves me trying to move away from harmful products that only benefit men, both in terms of where the money goes to and in terms of what the appeal is. So I have no desire to be in any way, attractive or appealing to men. And so part of that means I don't wear any kind of makeup. I don't wear clothing that is harmful to my body, and I also make my own deodorant. So today we are going to learn how to make a natural deodorant, and I have 5 ingredients. I have 5 ingredients in order to create this, but you only actually need 3 of these. 2 of them I just throw in for well, I'll tell you why as we move through, but again, you only need 3 ingredients, and you can find them really just about anywhere. So to start with, the 3 main ingredients that you need is coconut oil, arrowroot flour, or arrowroot powder, and baking soda. So those are the 3 key ingredients. And as long as you have those, you can make your own deodorant. This batch literally lasts me about a year. It is dirt cheap, I can't even tell you. And it works great. It really does. And so I get a lot of questions because, as I've said in other videos, I don't shave, so I get a lot of questions about, well, does your body hair smell worse or better? And I think, and I have found, that my body odor has completely changed since I stopped using regular deodorant from the store. I went through a time period where I was using rock deodorant, like crystal deodorant, and that didn't work as well for me, and I found that the rock didn't last very long, so this ends up being much cheaper and much more effective. So I only need to put this on once a day, and it lasts me all day. If you are a heavy sweater, you may find that putting it on twice a day works for you. And from there, I would recommend maybe cutting back a little bit on the baking soda, because baking soda can be caustic. That was one of my first mistakes, was I used too much baking soda, and I was getting a bit of a rashy burn, and you want to try to avoid that. So learn from my mistakes and follow my recipe now. I'm going to link it in the description below, and I also want you to know that it's important to find your own way with this, because this is what's worked for me. I found this recipe online, I tweaked it. I'm very flexible, as you'll see with my measurements. I'm not a scientist. This is a bit more casual, and nothing is set in stone. So if you find that you need it to be a little bit more liquidy, so you want to add a bit more coconut oil, throw the whole thing in the microwave and melt it and start again. And you can add, or although you can't subtract, you can adjust at any point. So if you find that, like I said, it's caustic on your skin, too much baking soda, throw in more of the other ingredients, and you should be good. So just to talk a little bit about the extra ingredients, I also use tea tree oil. Tea tree oil has antibacterial properties, antifungal, so if that's a concern for you, then an essential oil is a good idea. With essential oils, you have to be really careful, because again, they can burn you or cause rashes and things like that. So don't overdo it, and less is more to begin with, and then you can find out what the right balance is for you later on. So I add tea tree oil. You can add oregano oil, grapefruit seed oil would be good, or even just lavender essential oil if you like the smell. And so the last the last ingredient that I have is this big thing of shea butter. So I don't put a lot of shea butter in there, because shea butter does not absorb into the skin very quickly. But I do it to kind of balance the effect with the baking soda, and it's very, very good for your skin. So I got 10 pounds of shea butter from a women's collective in in Ghana, and it has lasted me a very long time. It's supposed to only last a year. This stuff is golden. It's lasted me forever, but I can't even get my way through it quickly enough, so I pretty much put it in any of my own homemade recipes just to try and work through. So if you can't find shea butter, or you don't need 10 pounds of it from another continent, that's your choice. I think you can find it in stores a bit easier than you could when I was looking for it. So as I was putting the ingredients together, I noticed that I read my own recipe wrong, and I doubled some of my powder ingredients, and rather than go back, I just wanted to be very flexible and double the entire recipe, because now I can give some of it away, and now it will last me even longer, and I can have a batch to keep in a Ziploc bag at work, and I also keep another little Ziploc full of it for my backpacking adventures. So as you can see, we have quite a big batch going. I have the coconut oil I've melted in the microwave, so it's about 14 tablespoons, and I also melted the shea butter. Takes a bit longer to melt, and it will harden faster, so you want to kind of get through these steps a little bit more quickly. And I have a half cup of the arrowroot flour and a half cup of the baking soda. So again, all of this is doubled from the recipe that I'm going to post in the description, but you could even half the recipe that I post and have enough to last you 6 months. So if you get tired of it, if you're not a fan, or if you're just testing it out, then feel free to mess around with the measurements a little bit to make sure that you have the numbers that work for you, the amount that works for you. So from here, it's super easy. You're going to throw it all in the bowl and mix it together. So we're going to just throw in the arrowroot flour. You can tell this is going to be a nice big batch. And you're just going to get it nice and mixed. And so coconut oil solidifies at room temperature. So as soon as you're throwing in ingredients that are on the colder side, it is going to start to solid up. So you just want to move through this relatively quickly. Arrowroot powder is a thickener, so this is the one that you may have the most trouble with in finding in stores if you can't get it at your local health food store. I know you can find it online. You can order anything. But if you just need household ingredients or inexpensive ingredients, then cornstarch is a good replacement for arrowroot flour. I don't think it's the best replacement. Like I would really recommend trying to find this if possible, because cornstarch has a tendency to be a bit on the stickier side, and arrowroot has none of that property. So you're just going to dump in your next little batch. Mix it up. So what I like to do, so this is your main batch. This is the 3 ingredients that you need to make your own deodorant. That's it. This is the whole process. Like if you don't want to add in the shea butter or the essential oils, you're done at this point. So you're going to want to stir it, because you're going to find that it's settling in the bottom here. That's fine, that's normal. So just keep stirring it, and it's going to thicken. This is exactly what you want to have happen. And then you're going to pour it into whatever container you're using to contain this deodorant. When I first started this, I used to save up my old deodorant containers, clean them out, put a little, because you'll see in the bottom of a deodorant container that there's sort of there's holes in it, so I would put wax paper down to kind of plug the holes so that when I poured it in, it would lift up in one unit. So I used to do that. I found that it didn't come out uniformly, and also you had to keep it in the fridge in the summer because I don't have air conditioning, so this is liquid in the summer and solid in the winter. So I think that's important to note. Like, you have to be a little bit more flexible when you're making your own things, and that's fine. So I keep it just in my room. It's one of the first things I do after I wake up is I put on deodorant. This is getting nice and thick. And in the beginning also, we used to try to apply it with like a tiny little spoon that I found. and then just kind of like go like this to rub it in. It's so funny that we have this disconnect from touching our own bodies, and I had that with my own armpits, especially after I started out to grow my hair. And now you should see me, like, it's so casual. I scoop my fingers in, I divide it between my two fingers. It's usually sort of a putty or more of a liquid, and I just apply it like this, and I rub it in as much as possible. You don't want any chunks, because the chunks are where you're going to find that the baking soda lives, and you may find that that burny feeling. Coconut oil by itself can work as a deodorant if you're really in a pinch. So I keep this in a shallow mason jar, and when I first complete the recipe and pour it into the jar, I put it in the fridge so that it is less likely to settle at the bottom. If you let it sit at room temperature, you might find, especially in the summer, that it's going to settle. And you don't want that, because then sitting on top you're going to have your coconut oil, and on the bottom you are going to have your baking soda, and that's exactly what I found. Like, I literally have none of this left. So because I had let it melt and re-solidify so many times over the course of the year that I've been using it, there was a definite settling process. So even just stirring it, if you notice it's a particular hot day, give it a stir, and it's going to stop that settling. So now I'm just going to add in my bonus ingredients. And was probably talking a little bit too long, so the shea butter has sort of solidified a bit. So again, I don't use a lot of shea butter. A little bit goes so far. That's why I still have probably 5 pounds of a 10-pound bag left. So you're just going to want to kind of drop it in. It is a butter, so it is quite, like, it's a nut butter. So again, if you have like nut allergies, you might want to avoid this. But I love the way it makes my skin feel. And you can just put shea butter on your face, on any part of your body that needs some moisturizing, because it's fantastic. So yeah, we're just going to stir this up. This is going to stir in really nicely. The butter and the oil really work together, so you're not going to find any sort of separation here. And again, just make sure that you're stirring all along the bottom of this. And then tea tree oil, again, like, I want to just caution everyone when they're using essential oils to make sure that they're not overdoing it, because they can be quite harsh on your skin. So I'm just going to put, I would say, 10 drops. Oh, it smells so good. So this is the finished product. It's a giant batch. It is more deodorant than I will go through in a year easily. And now I can give some to my loved ones so they can experience the joys of homemade deodorant. So I think it's really important to know the origin of everything that we put into our bodies, from food to medication to cosmetics. And I found in my journey that I no longer considered acceptable the risk of not knowing the origin of these products that I was paying a lot of money for, and consuming, either like literally eating it or having it on my face or my body, or just consuming in the sense of like purchasing it and being a consumer. And I made a lot of pretty drastic decisions in order to keep myself as close to what I would consider to be natural, or as close to nature as I can manage. And I feel so much better knowing that, you know, I know the basis of these ingredients. I know the chemistry between them. I know what they do to my body and how my body accepts or rejects certain things. I'm much more in tune with my own needs in this way. And, you know, I also find that just being in contact with your body, and like, this is something that I also learned in my shift from tampons to a menstrual cup. The familiarity with your own body, the connection with your own body in these places where we don't normally touch. Like, we don't normally dig our fingers into our own armpits. We don't normally insert fingers maybe into our vagina in a non-recreational kind of way. So but when you kind of invite yourself into your own body in that way and understand your intimate places, in a way that's really personal. I think that can show you a lot about yourself, and those are places where problems come to the fore. Like, you may have swollen lymph nodes. You may want to give yourself a breast exam around the same time every now and then when you do apply your deodorant, because all of that connective tissue, resides in the same place. And same with, the same with your vulva and your vaginal area. Like, you want to get intimately connected with these areas in order to see when things aren't quite right. So yeah, I fully recommend just becoming intimate with yourself, and this is a great way to start. You're starting small. Again, it's a not very expensive investment. I understand that like a big tub of coconut oil is quite pricey. You don't have to go that big, and even if you wanted to, you can just borrow a couple tablespoons from one of your friends. Hopefully they would share, and then in return make them some deodorant, and everybody wins. So as you can see from what I was saying, it wasn't actually as bad as I thought, but this is the mason jar that I use, and you can see I was getting quite low. Don't worry about the little black specks in there. Those would be sage ashes. And so I'm just going to dump my new batch right on top of my old batch, because that is just who I am as a person. So some sort of scoop is fantastic. So let's just ladle this stuff in. So is this not like the easiest thing you've ever seen in your life? Okay, like it's a bit messy, but you may not be as messy of a person as I am, so you can really blame me for that mess. And if you're wondering why this is difficult, everything is covered in coconut oil and shea butter. So that's why. It's completely 100% my fault and problem that it is this complicated. Because I don't like to waste anything, so I'll be using all of these leftovers to rub into my hands and face. So this batch, like this is an amazing batch. This batch will easily last me longer than a year. I think my last batch was about half this and lasted me a year, so this could probably go as far as 2 years. That's the way that I use deodorant. I probably apply a pea-sized, or maybe a pinky nail, if you bite your nails like me, sized chunk of this stuff in each armpit every day. So, and I skip some days, so you're gonna find that there's no real set rules to this, but use as much as you need. Again, make adjustments. If you have questions, feel free to drop me a note. I'm happy to walk you through any of this process. And yeah, so even if you don't make your own deodorant, my intent here is really just to encourage you to become more connected with the processes of taking care of yourself as a woman. And hygiene is a big part of that. And a lot of women, they will forego deodorant altogether, and I don't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with that, but I have a boundary on my impact on other people, and I know that I can have strong body odor if I'm working in the garden all day, if it's hot, and so I have a boundary on whether or not other people are impacted by me in that way, and my line is that I would not like to impact other people with my body odor. So I don't wear perfume, I don't wear any sort of body spray, I don't shampoo my hair, I don't wear I use soap. I use bee pollen soap, and I would make my own soap if it was a bit easier, but it's not. So that's one of the only things that I use in my self-care regime that is actually purchased from a store and not assembled and made myself. And again, I'm not making my own foundation or my own shampoo and conditioner. I'm really I cut out most of it, and what I couldn't cut out, now I make that myself. So thank you so much for being a part of this tutorial today. I hope it was elucidating. And if nothing else, that you take away just the idea of being a bit more curious about what you can do for yourself that that we've been told we can't do, that it's just too inconvenient. Okay, so I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to watch this, and if you feel like subscribing to my channel, it really is a help, and liking this video helps me out also, and you can find other awesome, interesting things on my website, womanwalkingaway.com, and I'm also on Instagram and Twitter and Tumblr, and so you can find me just about everywhere. Thank you so much. Have a great day.